Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Andito naman tayo sa isang bagong video lesson brought to you by Aral with Misha. So ngayon, grade 7 math po tayo. Uses of rates and word problems involving rates. So magsosolve tayo ng mga problems, okay? So una, i-define natin what is ratio. A ratio compares two quantities using division. It shows the relative size of one quantity to another. Example, if there are 8 apples and 4 oranges, so what's the ratio between apples to oranges? So 8 apples is to 4 oranges, okay? Pwede rin 8 is to 4. So you're using two quantities using division. 8 is to 4, 8 apples to 4 oranges, okay? So next, a rate is a ratio that compares two quantities with different units. It tells us how one quantity changes in relation to another. Example, driving 100 kilometers in 2 hours. Okay, so 120 kilometers is in 2 hours. Okay, so next is unit rate. Okay, balik tayo dito sa 120 kilometers per 2 hours. This is the rate. But if you're going to look at unit rate, it's a rate with the denominator simplified to 1 unit. Okay, so denominator mo is 1. It expresses the rate per single unit. Example, if 5 pencils cost 50 pesos, so 50 pesos, how many pencils you have? 5 pencils. So if you want to make it as a unit rate, so you need to divide it by 5, so that's 1. So this is 10. So 10 pesos per pencil. Okay? Because there's already 1. So 1 pencil. So 10 pesos per pencil. Okay? So balik tayo sa example kanina. 120 kilometers per 2 hours. In 2 hours. Diba? So if you want to make that in unit rate, this is what you call rate. Okay? If you want to make it unit rate, the denominator should be 1. Okay, so divided by 2, divide this by 2, so that's 60. So 60 kilometers per hour. So this is unit rate. Okay? So where do we use rates? So saan yung mga application? So unang-una, speed, okay, distance per unit of time, let's say 60 kilometers per hour when driving from Quezon City to Batangas. So sa kotse to yung speedometer, okay? Wages, money earned per day or per hour. So 500 pesos per day for construction work or 80 pesos per hour for a part-time job. Okay? Pwede ring work rate, amount of work done per minute or per day. Let's say 40 letters per minute yung magagawa mo when typing. 10 cakes per day in a bakery. So 10 cakes per day. Okay? So pwede rin siya sa cost, price per kilo, per liter, per pack, or per ounce. So, 120 pesos per kilo of mangoes. 60 pesos per liter, okay, of milk. 20 pesos per pack of what? Noodles. So, yan yung mga usage applications kung saan natin magagamit yung rate, okay? So, ito, simpleng questions, 5 questions. You need to answer yes or no, unit rate or not, okay? A car travels 150 kilometers in 3 hours. Unit rate ba siya or no? No, kasi 3 hours. So, hindi siya simplified, di ba? Dapat yung denominator is 1. So, this is no. Okay? A worker earns 400 per day. So, yes, unit rate. This is unit rate. Okay? Kasi per day. A student types 300 words in 10 minutes. So, no. Not unit rate. Okay? A mango costs 120 pesos per kilo. Yes, this is unit rate. Kasi per kilo, di ba? A bus covers 250 kilometers in 4 hours. Unit rate ba? No. You need to simplify that. Divided 200. Kung gusto mong gawing unit rate yan, 240 divided by 4. So, this is 1. 60. So, okay. So that should be 60 kilometers per hour. Kung 60 kilometers per hour, that's unit rate. But here, that's no. Okay? So, okay. Next tayo. So, first, yung, ito lang review. This is just a review. Okay, how to convert to unit rate. Identify the rate. Look at the two quantities being compared. Example, kilometers and hours, pesos and kilos. Divide both parts by the denominator. Simplify so the second quantity is equals to 1. Let's say, kagaya kanina. 120 kilometers in 2 hours, di ba? So, identify the rate, kilometers an hour. Divide both parts by the denominator. So, divided by 2. So, maging 1 yan. Divide this by 2. So, 60. So, 60 kilometers per hour. Okay? Per hour. Write the result. Express it as per unit. 60 kilometers per hour. So, ganun lang. This is just a review. Okay? Okay, sample problems na tayo. A car travels 180 kilometers in 3 hours. Find the unit rate in kilometers per hour. 180 kilometers in 3 hours. So what's the unit rate? Divide this by 3, so that's 1. Divide this by 3, that's 60. So 60 kilometers per hour. Okay? So that's actually the correct answer, or pwede mong gawin ganito, 60 kilometers per hour. Okay? That's the unit rate. So next, a worker earns 1,200 pesos in 6 days. Find the unit rate in peso per day. So divide this by 6, okay? So that's 1. So this is 200 pesos per day. Okay? So, yung 1, 2, i-divide mo lang by 6. Okay? So, next, Ben earns 900 pesos in 3 days. At this rate, how much will he earn in 10 days? So, unang-una, pakita muna natin paano yung unit rate, di ba? 900 pesos daw in 3 days. Okay? Pesos in 3 days. So, you gotta need to find first how much does he earn per day. So, divide this by 3, that's 1. 900 divided by 3, that's 300. 300 pesos per day. Okay? So, how much will he earn in 10 days? So, multiply this by 10. Para mag-cancel out, pakita ko sa inyo, 300 pesos, di ba? Per day. Multiply that by 10 days. Kung magkano daw yung kikitain niya in 10 days. So, yung day, mag-cancel out. So, 300, multiply that by 10, that's 3,000 pesos. Okay? So, that's the answer, 3,000 pesos. Okay? Tricycle earns 150 pesos for 10 passengers. At this rate, how much will it earn for 25 passengers? So, una, hanapin muna yung peso per passenger. But I could show you a second step on how will you do it, okay? Para hindi na kayo maghanap ng unit rate, we're gonna use ratio, okay? 150 pesos per 10 passengers, di ba? Peso per passenger. Yung numerator mo is peso. So, at this rate, how much will you earn for 25 passengers? So, X is yung peso. Dito yung 25. Okay? So, ang gagawin mo lang, crisscross. Magka-crisscross ka. Ito, 10 multiplied by X is 10X is equals to 25 times 150. Okay? 25 times 150. That's 3,750. 3,750. So, X, kung ililipat mo to sa kabila, magdi-divide ka lang. X equals to 3,750 divided by 10. So, that's 375. So, that's the answer. 375 pesos. Okay? 375 pesos. So, if you wanna use the unit rate, pakita ko sa inyo. Ito yung ratio and proportion method. So, per unit rate, kung gusto nyo hanapin, 150 pesos per 10 passengers, di ba? So, ang kikitain niya, divide by 10, divide 15 pesos per passenger. Okay? So, how much for 25 passengers? So, ang gagawin mo lang, 15 pesos per passenger, di ba? Multiply it by how many passengers? 25 passengers. So, passengers mag-cancel. So, pesos na lang lalabas dyan. 15 times 25. 15 times 25. So, that's 375. So, pareho lang. Okay? 375 pesos. Alright? So, bahala na kayo kung anong gusto nyong method. Diretso kayo sa ratio and proportion, or you wanna get the unit rate first, then multiply for yung base sa problem. Okay? Ito na yung exercise natin. So, pwede nyo i-pause yung video. Then, once you have solved all the problems, you could play and we'll try to solve it together. Okay? So, simulan na tayo. Lisa can read 90 pages in 3 hours. Okay? At this rate, how many pages can she read in 7 hours? So, ratio and proportion tayo. 90 pages in 3 hours daw. Okay? Is equals to, at this rate, how many pages can she read in 7 hours? So, X. Then, 7 hours yung sa baba. So, crisscross. 3 times X is 3X is equals to 90 times 70. 90 times 7 pala, 630. So, X is equals to 630 divided by 3. Okay. So, that's 210. So, 210 pages in 7 hours. Okay. Okay, pakita ko rin yung unit rate. Okay, 90 pages per 3 hours, di ba? So, equals to, that's 30 pages per hour. So, how many in 7 hours? So, 30 diba, times, i-multiply mo lang by 70. Okay? So, 30 times 70. 30 times 7 pala. 7 lang. Kasi 7 hours lang. I'm sorry. Okay? The 7 hours. Kasi 30 pages per hour, diba? Pages per hour. So, cancel, cancel. So, 30 times 70. 30 times 7 lang pala, sorry. 210. So, 210. So, that's equal, diba? 210 pages. So, it's just the same. So, number 2, a jeepney travels 150 kilometers in 5 hours. At this rate, how far can it travel in 9 hours? So, 150 kilometers per 5 hours, okay, is equals to in 9 hours. So, 9 hours yung given. How many kilometers? X. 5 times X is 5X. 150 times 9. 150 times 9 is 1350. So, X is equals to 1350 divided by 5. X is equals to 270 kilometers. Okay? You want to get the unit rate? Okay, unit rate. Another solution is 150 kilometers per 5 hours. You simplify it, you get the unit rate. That's 30 kilometers per hour. Okay? If you want to get how far does it travel in 9 hours? So, multiply by 9 hours. Cancel, cancel. So, 30 times 9 is equals to 270 kilometers. So, that's actually the same. Okay? Next tayo. Marco earns 2,400 pesos in 8 days. Okay? At this rate, how much will he earn in 15 days? So, 15 days to. X. So, 8 times X is 8X is equals to 2,400. Multiply it by 15. That's 36,000 pesos. X is equals to, mukhang may 2,4, diba? 2,400 multiply it by 15. That's 36,000, okay? So, X is equals to 36,000 divided by 8, x is equals to, that's 4,500 pesos. Okay? So if you wanna simplify, is per unit rate, pesos in 8 days. So you wanna get the peso per day. So 2,400 divided by 8, that's 300 pesos per day. So how many in 15 days? So 300, just multiply it by 15 days. Okay? So how many pesos in 15 days? That's 4,500. So same. 4,500 pesos. So okay? Same. A factory produces 500 bottles in 10 hours. Okay, 500 bottles in 10 hours. At this rate, how many bottles can it produce in 24 hours? 24 hours, ito x. So, okay, multiply. Crisscross method lang yan. 10x is equals to 24 times 500. That's 12,000. X is equals to, i-divide mo lang yan dito. So, minus is 1,200 bottles. Okay? So, you want to get the unit rate. 500 bottles per 10 hours. 500 bottles per 10 hours. Diba? So, cancel. 50 bottles per hour. Okay? 50 bottles per hour. Multiply that by how many bottles daw in 24 hours? So, times 24 lang. 24 hours. Cancel yung hours. So, ang labas dyan is 24 times 50, ha? 24 times 50. That's 1,200. 1,200 bottles. So, same. 1,200. Okay, next. Store A sells 12 bananas for 60 pesos. Okay. Store B sells 8 bananas for 40 pesos. Which store offers the cheaper price per banana? So, magko-compare tayo. Store A ba or Store B? Okay, so, kunin natin unit rate. Okay, unit rate. 60 pesos. Gawin natin per banana. So, gawin natin sa baba yung banana. 12 bananas daw. Ito yung Store A, bananas. So, 60 divided by 12, that's 5 pesos per banana. This is Store A, So, Store B na naman, yung Store B is 48 pesos, pero wala yung makukuha mo. 8 bananas. Bananas. So, 48 divided by 8, that's 6 pesos. 6 pesos per banana. This is Store B. So, ano yung mas mura? Which store offers the cheaper price? Store A. Kasi 5 pesos per banana lang. So, ang sagot is Store A. Kasi, look at this. 5 pesos per banana lang. Alright? So, the store offers the cheaper price per banana is Store A. Okay? So, okay na tayo. So thank you. Please do subscribe. Okay? Please do subscribe and please like the video if you like the video, and please subscribe pag hindi pa kayo nakapag-subscribe. And marami pong salamat and God bless. See you in the next video.